Hello there. Welcome to an all new episode of Media Mentality, where I'm just looking to review, react, and recommend to something that interests me in hopes that it interests you. In all honesty, the points don't matter, even the review doesn't really matter, but as long as I can say something that might convince you to check out an album or film or something, then I've done my job. My point of view is askew, and I try to be really humble about it while being super opinionated. Without further ado, melodic death metal legends Amorphis have pretty much stayed consistent their entire 30-year plus career. Record 14, Halo, is almost no different, but there's always something about how well executed these guys who know what they're doing, how they're doing it, and how to perfectly push it out that always seems to keep them as consistent as they have been since they started, but also their 2006 record Eclipse. This formula has stuck with them, and they never seem really too boring to not want to recommend a new record every time one comes out. To call Halo by Amorphis nothing new would be a bit of an understatement, but to say it's ever really bland or boring, I think would be an overstatement. Since 2006, they've put out 8 records with the same permanent consistency throughout, with clean, soaring chorus vocals, growling, snarling, booming, typical Melodeath screams, and just the right amount of choice execution of European folk that expand from organs and flutes, sometimes maybe even accordions, and any kind of string instrument that fits the mood. What really sets Amorphis apart, I think, is that the singer himself doesn't really sound like your traditional power metal vocalist, and the way these songs are sung and the lyrics, which usually encompass mostly Finnish folk tales and a couple of Norwegian and Swedish epics and novels as well, really create a sense more of emphatic storytelling than, glory on high pub songs that most power metal focuses on. There's enough 70s and 80s prog rock worship a la Yes, Jethro Tull and Kansas on songs like Northwards, A New Land, Seven Roads Come Together, and War, that the execution and perspective of Amorphis has always kept them above average of anyone else who kind of attempts different versions of either more strict power metal influence or prog rock influence or folk metal influence. And sometimes there's just really good addictive main riffs that carry the song, and it's kind of hard to pull away from, and that's the part of melodic death metal I really like. I like the aggressive boomingness that comes from death metal. Sometimes it's raw, sometimes it's just gnarly, but produced very clear for you to hear every enunciation and every snarl, but combined with riffs that are on songs like On the Dark Waters, The Moon, and When the Gods Came, really kind of just cement that, again, for 30 plus years now, they've really understood what they've always been doing, and it's a little bit less of if it ain't broke, why fix it, as they just seem to understand how much they can do with, the select few archetypes that they have just constantly rearranged for 8 albums. And not every album is super strong. Skyforger, I would say their '09 record is the best out of the bunch, and they kind of waned a little bit, I think, with the beginning of Times and Circle. Those were actually both focused on Finnish epics completely. So telling a full Tolkien-esque story, but again, without any of the very gaudy theater-driven antics of power metal, and just like encompassed around a fire and really focus on telling you the story in the most mythical and mysterious way. It's less about epicness, even though, again, the guitars and the accompanying orchestral or very proggy switch ups and changes throughout, and the lyrics just feel more like an epic poem from thousands of years ago. I think Halo is closest, along with Under the Red Clouds, their 2015 record, being what some people would say belongs to Amon Amarth as this epic Viking-esque storytelling, but I think Amorphis kind of does it a lot better for the most part. I think the clean vocals really serenade this idea of there's something far out there and it's encouraging you to go on an adventure. It is what I would call like the Norwegian, Finnish, upper North European equivalent of like an anime opening. If anyone knows the anime and manga Vinland Saga, this is the shit that should be playing to if kids still make AMVs. So just throw that out there. If that's still a thing and you love Vinland Saga, use Amorphis songs. And there are softer songs that are using some female vocal accompaniment like Halo and My Name is the Night. And those still carry just, I think, the forefront again, which has cemented their staying power, is their storytelling is really nice. It's not overbearing and chanty. It feels like the message is very important to them to deliver to you, that there's a lot of pride behind the way the vocals are delivered, what lyrics are chosen, the execution, especially when there's a solo, when the guitar riff comes in, when the organ demands attention and wants to be seen forefront for a little while. And again, some of that just mystical storytelling of Jethro Tull in Kansas, very specifically. So it's more of like one of your favorite treats that you never get tired of, I think, by the end of the day. This is a very solid, continuous record of everything they've done before. I guess you could call it a get what you come for record, except that it always feels kind of like it's a new adventure, like it's a new type of film in the same genre. You know, if you're like a really big fan of very specific adventure films or disaster films or some form of action film that's very specific and niche, that you could watch all of them, you know. You could watch every cop drama, or you could watch every thing where there's somebody trapped in a building, plane, or whatever, that kind of thing, and it never gets dull to you. I think Amorphis has that power and that charisma. So for me, it's a in between of them always staying a continuous flat line of exactly what I enjoy from them and from the melodic death metal style, and understanding that this is their 8th record in a row, but it is consistent. They never feel lesser. They never feel watered down. They never feel like they're running out of ideas, and that's an impressive feat. So I'm gonna be courteous here and give it like a 7.5. It, might feel more like a personal 8, or depending on how much you love it, more like a 6. I don't know, but 7.5 because I can go back to these guys constantly, and they never seem to be out of their same bag of tricks. It never feels like a dull moment, honestly. It never feels watered down. And ultimately, I think that's what a perfect definition of a 7.5 is. Better than average, while not exceeding expectations or being inventive, but still being ingenuitive with the parts they want to work with, and they understand that. And that's really it for this one. I hope you come away with something that makes you want to check out the record, or maybe, just reaffirming why you like the album so much. Either or, I'm really just kind of shooting out my own personal feelings more than anything, nothing too serious. But always thank you for listening, watching, and like, share, subscribe. As always, see you next time.